Well, this isn't going to be anybody's favorite video. It's not anybody's favorite topic. I don't even want to do this video. But if we're going to read Benedict's rule together, it's something that I guess we can't avoid. So here goes. Let's talk about obedience. Hey everybody, welcome to the Sanctus Forum. I am Michael Stewart Robb. That's me, better known as Mike. And if you made it through that introduction and you want to hear about obedience, then I want to tell you about the documentary which we have finished and are starting to show people, called Alone Together. It's about the retreat we held for spiritual leaders in Europe. We held it in Spain about a year and a half ago. We are doing a screening this Thursday, and if you don't know about that, it's because you're not on the newsletter list, which you would sign up for over at Sanctus Institute, our institute's webpage. So go over there, and if there are still some spots and I see that people have kind of come in, then I will extend those spots to you. That's this Thursday at 8 p.m. Now, I don't really want to do this video, but it's been interesting. I hope I don't apologize too much for the rule of Saint Benedict, and apologize too much for obedience as a thing that might be good for you and good in your life. But here's the first thing. It probably is the biggest apology for it. And that is that Benedict wrote this in a time when Europe was just overrun by barbarians and barbarianism. And this kind of comes in as an antidote, a beginning to civilization. And Benedict knew that. He knew that he was trying to restore civilization to Europe, and there's no such thing. You're not going to get civilization anywhere if you don't have order. So think of a school, think of an army, think of a company. They're not going to be able to work together to accomplish the good that they need to accomplish if there isn't some sort of system of obedience in their midst. You're going to have to listen to some people and do what they say, otherwise the thing's not going to work. And just think about Benedict as proposing his monasteries to cultures which are very disordered and lacking in civilization, and he comes in and says, hey, in order to get this thing to work, you're going to have to obey. You're going to have to agree to do what other people say. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to help you. So think about the structure of Benedict's monasteries as potentially attractive to barbarians who don't have in their society any forms of stability, any forms of order, any civilization, as potentially something that they might want to get into, despite the fact that they're going to have to be in a system of obedience. The second thing that I want to point out about what Benedict's doing with obedience, and this is less of an apology and more of just an explanation, but just think about obedience according to the Gospel of Luke. And Luke 1:17, he is quoting the angel who came to Zechariah after being told that John was going to be born, John the Baptist, that is. And he says that he will go before him in the spirit and power of Elijah. And he says to turn the hearts of the fathers to the children and the disobedient to the wisdom of the just. So he's going to turn the hearts of the disobedient to the wisdom of the just. Now, think about obedience in that way as potentially life-giving. Now, modern life, our life, is a life free of obedience. But think about how it might also be a life free of the wisdom of the just. And I'm not going to expound on that phrase a whole lot, but just think about that and think about whether that might be something that you might like to have, the wisdom of the just. Because the alternative is a life characterized by foolishness. And that might actually be a better description of what we in modern life have in our celebration of a lack of obedience. And the third thing that I want to say, or that I've been thinking about with respect to Benedict's rule, actually comes from the chapter on obedience. And you see there, it's chapter, I've lost it, chapter 5. You see there the alternative that Benedict has in mind. See, for Benedict, obedience can cure unsatisfied desire. And he writes here, they, that is, the disciples of Jesus and therefore the monks, they do not live as they please, nor as their desires and will dictate. Now, think about that as a state in which you just never can be satisfied with what you want, as being pulled backwards and forwards by your own whims and desires. You see, freedom is valued in modern society, in our society, precisely this, that you do live as you please and as your desires and your will dictate. But potentially that is a source of constant bondage and of constant frustration, because your desires are, well, as we often say, they're great servants, but they're terrible masters. And so we live, modern people, we can be just entirely enslaved to what our desires are, what the whims of our desires are. I want to give, I thought I had it here. I want to give a book recommendation, and I've got the book back there somewhere, which is actually just a chapter. And it's out of Richard Foster's book, Celebration of Discipline. And he has this chapter on submission. Now, if you want to know more about this kind of thing, what benefit obedience might have, then I just want to recommend you look at that chapter. Many of you might even have that book already, and just go through, look at your notes, which I assume you've taken on it, the highlighted bits that you've underlined, and just say, okay, what does this mean? What is submission all about? And I think Foster does a really creative job there of kind of mixing those two, of obedience and submission. They're clearly very related terms. Well, thanks for making it all the way to the end of the video. Remember, if you sign up for that newsletter, then you'll hear about things like screenings of Alone Together, which we'll be showing this Thursday, 8 p.m. Munich time. I hope to see you there if you can make it. Thanks. Bye.